Uh-oh. uh. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Either the internet is being weird or Twitch is being weird. Okay, I think we're fine, right? Right? Oh boy. Hopefully we're fine. Hopefully we're... There we go. Okay. Alright. Let's continue. Internet, OBS, Twitch, if ever one of you is being a fuck up, stop being a fuck up. I swear. Right. There we go.
なるほど。あの野郎。行動さんの行方を掴んだってわけか。
まだ結論を出すのは早計かと。雪村をおびき出すための罠かもしれません。
その降参は高いだろうな。油断も隙もありゃしねえ男だし。できればあいつから薩長の動きについて聞き出してえんだが、素直に喋る玉でもねえか。いいぜ、坂本に会って行動さんの情報とやらを聞き出してこい。
Thank you so much. Yawn. I appreciated Hijikata-san's gesture so much. I bowed so deeply my head could have hit the floor. Kondo-san didn't respond, instead caught in what looked like what had looked like concern.
以前の寺田屋での騒動のこともあるし、君を坂本に関わらせるのは気が進まないのだな。
Dad's worried about us.
行動さんの行方がわかるかもしれんというのであれば反対するわけにもいかんか。すまないな雪村君、こんなことばかり頼んでしまって。
Oh, it's no problem at all. I mean, this is what I've wanted. It's all what? It's all what I can. It's all that. Typos. It's all that I came to Kyoto for. It's happening.
そう言ってもらえると救われるよ。
安心しろ。お前の周りは幹部で固めてやるからよ。
Oh God.
坂本がおかしな真似をしようとしたら、その場でぶった切ってやるさ。
Thanks, Hijikata. What? I didn't want there to be any conflict between Sakamoto-san and the Shinsengumi. Being able to reunite with Sakamoto-san alone was good enough for everything to be worth it to me. Shortly after the meeting, I wrote back to Sakamoto-san. A few days had passed. I had arrived at the tea shop where Sakamoto-san had arranged for us to meet. If I was correct, it was the same place where he and I first met for the first time. To be honest, it didn't feel like it at all. But it had been over 2 years since we first made our acquaintance. Really? 2 years? I guess so, yeah. Oh, shit. How surreal for time to pass so quickly.
ああ、すまん。待たせたにゃ。
Oh, Sakamoto-san. Long time no see. How are your wounds? Any complications?
おう、すっかり元気よ。まっこと。あの時は世話になったにゃ。ありがとう。
Oh, don't worry about it. At the time, I was so desperate to get Sakamoto to safety, and treating him was all I could think of. So, the yawns aren't going away, even if I went to bed early. Ugh. I was just so glad to see him upbeat and smiling like he was before me.
チックと散歩でもしてみるかい。久々の今日やし、あちこち眺めながら歩きたいがや。
Okay, why not? Sakamoto-san looked into the distance as the mountain range was covered in the hues of autumnal? 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 Autumn? Warmth.
やっぱり今日に来るがやったら秋に限るにゃ。夏と冬、特に冬は人が暮らせる寒さやないき。
Well, it's not so bad. The cold is a little rough, so...
俺は南国の生まれやき。冬のキョーラーで、俺にとったら氷室の中におるがと変わらんき。
Southern boy. I guess that makes sense. No like winter. Igloo. A room built with mounds of snow to keep things chill during summer. The way he put me at ease when we spoke reminded me of the Sakamoto-san I'd come to adore. I remember the Shinsengumi men listing all of the things they didn't like about Sakamoto-san. Like how he was purchasing arms from foreign countries and selling them around. I'd also heard rumors about his involvement with the Satsuma and Choshu. Could they really be true? Or were they all just that? Yeah. Or were they just that, rumors? Well, I found out at some point. After descending the mountain path for a while, Sakamoto-san suddenly stopped in his tracks.
さて、前置きはこれくらいにして、そろそろ本題に入ろうか。おまんの親父さん、確か雪村光道ちゅう名前やったにゃ。
I waited nervously for Sakamoto-san to continue.
親父さんの居場所が分かった。かなり確かな筋から仕入れた話やき。
A reliable source, huh? Really? Where is he?
聞いた話やと、なんでも西国におる外国商人のところに世話になりゆうらしい。
A foreign merchant? Do you know whom?
俺の方にもいろいろと事情があっての、掴んだ情報をすべて明かすわけにはいかんがよ。
Really?
ただ、西国のとある藩におって、今も元気にしゆうことだけは間違いないき。
Well, he's alive at least. Dan! That one emote every single time, I swear. Scream! I couldn't help but be a little despondent. Hey. I thought I could finally reunite with my father.
すま、ぬか喜びさせたろうか。
Ryoma, when you send a letter that says you have information on my father, of course you're gonna get my hopes up. I'm a tired kitty, even though I went to bed early last night. Sleep is a fucking mess. Oh, no. I rushed to look up and I shook my head. It's good enough knowing he's safe. Thank you for notifying me. Although I knew I wouldn't be able to reunite with my father immediately, I just knew he was alive somewhere, safe and sound. That's something to be happy about.
まあ、お互い生きちゅうわけやし、事情が許せば、そのうち再会できるろ。
I don't think it's your curse that has been passed down to me. It's more like I'm taking over somebody at work because they can't go and close the register the next day. So I have to go do it. Which means waking up early. So, blech. I hate it. I have to do things. At least I come back in time for this. As he cheered me up, he started to walk again. I rushed to follow. What a wooga! Oh, this would be a wooga. Yeah, you're right. But we haven't quite gotten to the part that should be that yet. Though Sakamoto has some moments, surprisingly. As we continued down the path, eventually, we ended up near the wooden shack where I'd split up with Sakamoto-san during the Terada Inn incident.
さっきの話やけんど、新選組の奴らに花いても構わんぜよ。そうせんと、後でおまんが叱られるろ。
Well, I don't think that's the case. It is a rundown shack. Or abandoned shack, whatever. What? mean, they let me come see you today.
けど、もしなんちゃ成果も得られんちなったら、今後はこういて合わせてももらえんようになると思う。
What has happened, Dan? Also, Sakamoto is right.
奴らも俺がおまんにおかしなことを吹き込むがやないかってやきもきしうろき。
Well, it's true, most of the captains weren't fond of Sakamoto-san. So if he doesn't give us any information on our enemies, they may not let me see him again.
だからこそこうやって奴らに餌をくれてやるが寛容ながよ。
Sakamoto-san was right in what they Yawning is back. Sakamoto-san was right in that they'd stop us from seeing each other, but false leads were bad. How should I respond? Oh, wait, where's my guide? As I wait to see what Dan has brought us. Oh, do you think so? Is the answer? Words might be a little bit slurred, I'm sorry. I'm fighting sleepy. You think so?
そうに決まっちゅう。それともおまん、俺に会えんようになってもええがか？
It's not like that.
俺はいつでもこうしておまんに会いたい。おまんはどうで？
Sakamoto-san was so direct, and I didn't expect him to come out with that like he did. When he looked at me straight in the eye, it was as if he... It was as if he warmed my cheeks with a lantern beside my face.
黙っちょっても見逃しちゃらん。ちゃんと答え。どっちぜよ。
Wow. So one little bop went and it went dead. Oh my god. I don't know Monster Hunter that well, but at least I know Rathalos. And there was one other monster, and I don't remember his name. I know it likes to eat rocks. That's it. But, wow, one little tiny bop. Ah. His tone became increasingly demanding, so I couldn't answer him under the pressure. Well, it's not as if I don't want to see you anymore. He seemed a little taken aback by my answer.
会いたくないわけではないか。そこは会いたいですと素直に言うてほしかったにゃ。
Oh. Well, that's not a good one. Well, that's what the knife is for. Payback.
まあええ。会う機会は他にもあるき。その時に祝いたらええか。
Make me say what? It was so vexing for him to tease me like this over and over again, and he knew he could control me. Just keep swimming. Even still, It was comforting to have a totally different kind of relationship with someone who wasn't one of the Shinsengumi. I noticed, though, that I was enjoying it. I wondered what made me feel this way. Then he muttered to himself as if he realized something. Ooh.
そういや、お前覚えちゅうかい？
Remember what?
ここでおまんに接吻した時言うだろう。次は額やのうて唇にするち。
No! I backed away from Sakamoto-san to prevent myself from being swept away with the current.
どういてじゃ。前に言うだろ。西洋では恋人同士が別れの挨拶に接吻をするがが習いやて。
Hold on, Ryoma, when in the fuck did I say we were lovers? When did I agree to this? This is Japan! Let's go. If we take too long, the sun will go down. I didn't know what to do with myself, so I sped down the mountain path.
やれやれ。大人の男女の語らいができるようになるがは、ちっくと時間がいりそうやにゃ。
Damn. Finally, we had walked close to the Satsuma mansion in Fushimi. Only I remember was just the kiss on the forehead at this goddamn shack or whatever. And then Sakamoto just closes the door on us. It's like, I'm gonna die here alone before we drag Nakaoka back here to fucking take his ass to the mansion. That's all I remember. Kiss on the forehead, congrats, the MC's pregnant. Oh god, that's a sentence. Whenever I spend time with Sakamoto-san, time seems to slip through our fingers. Every time I say goodbye, I feel something pulling me. But today it felt especially strong.
いやはや、名残惜しいにも程があるき。けんど楽しかったぜよ。おまんとの思い出の場所をこいて一緒に見て回るがもいろいろと感慨深いもんがあるにゃ。
Sakamoto-san said so without any hint of ill will. Can I ask you one thing? Wear a cap next time.
お、なんで?
I needed courage to ask him this. It was something I needed to know, but could never ask him. Are you cooperating with Satsuma and Choshu? And also buying weapons from foreign countries? Sakamoto-san's eyes widened, but his expression wasn't surprised. He smiled sincerely. Without showing any agitation, he gave me an answer lightly.
ああ、しゆうよ。
Damn. Why would you do such a thing? That's something that could brand you as an enemy of the Shinsengumi. Those weapons you brought could be used to kill people. Actual people. Sakamoto-san turned to face the darkening sky, thinking deeply to himself.
海の向こうにロシアいう国があるがやけんど、知っちゅうかい?
Huh. The second time Russia is mentioned in this game. Huh? I wasn't sure where he was going with his question.
今の海の王様がイギリスやったら、陸の王様はロシアよ。日本の倍じゃ効かん。バカでかい領地を持っちゅう。
Russia. Russia. That's how they say it in Japan? Russia? I'm learning things. Also, I'm being sent messages. What? Alright. I'm fine. I have my water. I'm gonna drink it.
長崎の北に対馬ちゅう島があるがやけんど、5年前ロシアがその島に勝手に工場を作ったことがあるがよ。
Tsushima.
対馬の大名も幕府もロシアに抗議したけんど、西洋の国言う側は自分らより弱い奴らの言うことは全く聞かん。
So, what happened?
幕府のお偉いさんがイギリスに泣きついて、黒船でロシアを追い出してもろうて、なんとか一件落着っちゅうところよ。けど、もしその時イギリスに対馬を占領されちゃったら、まず取り返すことはできんかったろ。
This is when Britain was still a threat, right? Well, I guess all different nations would have been a threat to, if you think about it, actually.
薩摩や長州が倒されてしもうたら、その幕府が国の舵取りをすることになるがぜよ。
All of the things Sakamoto-san had been saying were things I had never heard about. Honestly, I couldn't wrap my brain around them. But this was 5 years ago, right? Wouldn't the shogunate be able to make changes even a little bit by now?
逆に言うと、5年もかけてまだこの程度しか変わっちょらんいうことよ。もし俺がイギリスやロシアやったら、日本が力をつけるまで待っちゃる義理はないち考えるろ。
Oh. Thanks. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. So, are you saying that whatever the Tokugawa clan can't do, the Choshu and Satsuma can? There's no way I could bring myself to believe that. I mean, of course there was a possibility for things to improve under them, but there also wasn't the same... Isn't there... Oh my god, words. Brain, please, don't make them up. Isn't there also the same chance of things becoming even worse than before? However...
いや、徳川幕府の代わりに毛利幕府、島津幕府ができるわけやないき。
Eh? Suddenly, Sakamoto-san shook away his eerie vibe.
冗談やて。俺はそろそろ戻るき。気ぃつけて帰れよ。いや、周りを固めちゅう奴らにちゃんと送ってもらえ。また会おうぜよ。
After Sakamoto-san patted my head lightly, he walked into the domain residence. If there wasn't a Tokugawa shogunate, it doesn't mean the Maori shogunate or the Shimazu shogunate could do it. I wonder what Sakamoto-san was thinking. What kind of world is he trying to build? That night, I told Hijikata-san and the captains what Sakamoto-san had told me. Which is a bunch of, I don't know.
なるほど。行動さんは西国にいたと。
その話信じても構わんのかな。
ま、嘘を言う理由はねえだろうな。西国か。道理で見つからねえはずだ。
西国というだけでは手がかりとしては少し弱いですね。雪村君、
坂本からさらに情報を引き出すことはできますか？
Well, not really.
何も患者のような真似をしろと言っているのではありません。坂本から頼りがあればできるだけ会うようにして、その際にそれとなく探りを入れてくれればいいのです。
Casually, Sanan-san. What is casual about questions relating to anything, really?
いいですね。
Hey. Technically, he was asking me. But Sanan-san's words possess a sense of force behind them, as if he's obligating me to comply. I don't think I could ever do something like extract information from Sakamoto-san. However, I probably would be able to do something, like today, where I get enough to satisfy everyone. Hai. Wakatta. Today, Sakamoto and I shared a secret with each other. I can't say I didn't feel guilty about it. But I'm able to continue meeting Sakamoto-san and speaking with him. For some reason, I couldn't help but feel giddy, and I left the common room after bowing to the men. Just around the time I had my meeting with Sakamoto-san, the Shinsengumi had received official orders from the shogun to guard the notice board that was vandalized by the Sanjo-Hashi Bridge. Harada, who was guarding the notice board on the night of, had arrested the culprits. However, there supposedly was a woman who'd caused trouble for him. According to Harada, that person looked just like me, but thanks to the numerous men who'd vouched for me, corroborating the story that I'd been elsewhere, no one actually suspected me, but still. The thought of someone else out there who shared my appearance left me disturbed. What now? It was the year end of 1866. Lord Yoshinobu had inherited the position as Shogun Yamochi, who passed away in the summer and had been appointed the 15th shogun. Only 20 days after Lord Yoshinobu had been officially inaugurated as the new shogun, the emperor suddenly passed away. It was especially hard on the emperor's younger sister, Kazunomiya, who had been married to Lord Yamochi and was intended to be a symbol of imperial unification, but everyone on both sides was shocked by his death. He was succeeded by the imperial prince, a young boy of only 15 years. In the turmoil, the activities of the Choshu domain went uninvestigated. The entire country of Japan found itself thrust into rapid motion. All right, chapter 4. Oh. So, let's see. We're skipping this. We got a lot to skip through, so let's get going. So we're on the rounds with Okita, and we're about to see someone, and we're gonna run away from him and cause him to run. I'm gonna drink more water, and possibly run out of water, as we skip through this whole thing. We're asking Kauta here if she's been near the Sanjo Bridge and the board while at nighttime and assisting whatever the hell is going on. She left. She denies everything. We kind of let her go because Okita was distracted questioning us. Would be like, are you just going easy on her because she's a girl or what? And, you know, Okita's coughing fit. Nice cold water. We're getting scolded by Okita. I'm gonna skip. I'm not even gonna attempt to do this again. I don't think anything is gonna change. It's just gonna continue. Sorry. We got cut by the Fury, and now we're backed into a corner. And we, have to scream out because we remember Okita's words.
妙な遠慮はやめなよ。頼るべき時は頼ればいいんだからさ。
And I'm not gonna scream today. I don't feel up to it. And this guy is just on the floor drinking our blood, and he's a distraction. We get away from him.
足りない。これだけでは足りない。
And he looked up from the floor, sees our cut arm, and he's coming for us. He's coming for us. And it's safe. I don't think this has an...
雪村こっちへ来い
I don't think there's an alternate. I think my brain made up an alternate to this scene in particular, so let's keep going.
悪く
まったくこんな夜中に
Oh no, Ito has
何の
found
騒ぎです
us.
の
Now we're in trouble because Ito has found out the secrets and,
何か誰
みな
なぜ亡くなったはずのあなたがここに
And Sun and Sun had come here searching for the Fury, so, even more trouble.
これゆ聞こ
Go into your room, okay? We're going, we're leaving, okay? We're going. Hijikata-san. Anyway. It's the morning, we're in Hijikata-san's room, and, we remember everything that happened last night, the attack and our wound, and, we don't feel any pain, but looking at the injury, it's healed with a tiny little scar, but we're gonna have to play pretend that we're injured, just for the sake of appearances. And I don't want to hear the matane again.
あら
We're skipping, because I don't want to hear the matane. Ugh.
サブロそれ
Hey, Mickey.
Sorry,
Bye, Mickey. And then we get to know why what's going on, which is Ito and his men leaving that want to leave, including Saito and Heisuke.
あなた
Because last night is basically blackmail for Ito to get of the Shinsengumi.
言ったそう
Secrets.
まあ彼
Alright, so give me my first round of questions. We're thinking about, we're worried about the soldiers. What about the feelings of those who were being left behind? I wanted to know how the people in the Shinsengumi felt about Ito and his followers leaving. I decided it was best to ask someone close to the people who were leaving. Have we had this before? Hold on. I'll do a quick look. Yeah, we have actually. So I'll do it again. Hold on. I'll do it again. Someone close to the people who were leaving. Perhaps it would be best for me to talk to someone who were close to Heisuke and Saito. I'd only known them since I'd come to Kyoto, and their departure was making me miserable. The rest of the Shinsengumi had known them for much, much longer. How were those closest to them feeling? I thought I got rid of the yawn, but I guess not. As I was trying to think of who to talk to first, Nagakura and Harada walked out of the common room.
お、昨日は大変だったな。
もう動いても平気なのか。
I'm alright.
怪我の様子はどうなんだ。結構深い傷だっただろう。
Well, it wasn't as deep as it originally seemed. I'm sure it'll heal soon.
そっか。そりゃあよかった。女の肌に傷が残っちまったとなりゃ詫びようがねえからな。
The genuine concern on their faces warmed my heart. They were good men. All of the captains were good men, which only made it that much more heartbreaking that some of them were leaving us.
しかしほんと、ゆうべはひでえ夜だったな。伊藤さんにゃとうとう羅刹のことを知られちまうし。
About Ito-san.
Hmm?
How do you guys feel about Heisuke and Saito-san? About them leaving, I mean.
なあ、そのことか。平助のやつがあそこまで白状者だとは思わなかったな。あいつ、俺たちに一言もなかったんだぜ。ぶっ殺すぞ、ったくよ。
まあ、あいつもあいつで悩んでたんだろう。
悩んだ挙句に出した結論があれかよ。今まであんだけ面倒見てやったのに。
ただこねたってしょうがねえだろうが、同僚の小さいやつだな。
ところでよ、近頃の近藤さんのことどう思う？
Kondo-san? What do you mean? Kondo-san didn't seem any different to me than he had the first day I met him.
最近の近藤さん、ちょっと気取ってねえか？幕府のお偉いさんとちょくちょく会うようになったせいかわからないけどよ。伊藤派のことだって、あの人が伊藤さんって甘やかしたからつきやがったと思うんだよな。
Do you disagree with the chief and the commander?
いや、そうじゃねえんだけどよ。
You just think it's getting to his head a little.
まあ、あの嫌味な伊藤が出ていくのはせいせいしてるんだぜ。
I think you pissed most of you captains off.
しかし、いずれ敵対することにはなるだろうな、伊藤さんのとことは。
Harada's words struck me as unpleasantly prescient. Presentient? Although I didn't know why. Crossing swords. But why?
伊藤さんたちが今後どこの後ろ盾を得て動くつもりなのかはわからねえが、尊上派とつながりを持ちてんなら元新選組なんて肩書きは邪魔にしかならねえからな。
What will you do if we do have to fight them?
決まってんだろ。敵に回るようなら切る。
それが新選組だ。
って言うだろうな、土方さんならよ。
Nagakura scratched his head out of frustration.
けどな、いざあいつらと戦うことになったらどうなるんだろうな。
不定老師を切るのとは話が違うしな。本気でやり合えるかどうかはわからねえ。
Their voices had faded to little more than a murmur. I couldn't ask anymore. My wound healed completely soon afterwards, but I kept the bandages on. I continue on. They left. I think at some point Takada also left. Another spring had come and gone. Perhaps it was because the rainy season came rather early this year, but the sky shined a radiant blue above rather than the usual gray haze. I need to go get some goddamn water now. I'll be right back. I ran out of water. I've returned. That was weird. I've returned. Oh, I don't remember this. I think this is all of it. A clear day was a rare occurrence this time of year, so I was doing some of the laundry that had been piling up. Between the warriors' uniforms, the collars for their kimonos, the undershirts, the socks, and the handkerchiefs, there was a massive load. Hanging all the article of clothing was exhausting because of their sheer volume. There has to be at least like 100 to 200 men, maybe. I'm not sure how big the Shinsengumi was at this point. Maybe 500. I'm not sure because we just split off. I'd hope that I could be close to finishing all by the time lunch rolled around. Just then.
くそ、誰なんだよ。人手が足りなくて大変なこの時期に引っ越しなんて言い出しやがった野郎は。
お前な、何百回文句垂れれば気が済むんだ。
そんなこと言われたってよ。巡察で朝から晩までこき使われるし、大使どもの稽古もつけなきゃならねえし。ほんと、人使いが荒いにも程があるぜ。せめて新入りの大使連中が使い物になりゃまだマシなんだけどよ。
Listening nearby were Soma and Nomura, who were wincing from Nagakura's tirade.
申し訳ありません、長倉さん。何か俺に手伝いそうなことないっすか？何でもします。
バカ野郎、お前らが使い物になるんだったら遠慮なくこき使ったのに決まってるだろうが。
Oh God.
すいません、努力します。
あんまり深刻に通るなよ。新八のやつ、イラついててお前らに当たり散らしてるだけなんだから。
It looked to me as though the men were exhausted with the increase in responsibilities. That came as a result of of Ito's faction's departure. Harada looked at me.
お、洗濯の最中か？なんなら手伝うか？
Yeah, I'm almost finished, so I'm fine.
相馬も野村も気が利かねえな。こういう時は真っ先に手伝いますって言うもんだろうが。
Bird brains.
すいません、すぐ。俺も手伝います。
No, seriously, I'm alright. Thanks to the help from Soma and Nomura, I was able to finish doing the laundry way faster than I had anticipated, but ever since Saito and Heisuke left, I noticed Harada and Nagakura looking more glum lately. It also seemed as if Okita's health was worsening as well. What was going to become of all of us? There was no one left in the compounds, and it looked so spacious in its emptiness. I let out a sigh. No point in being depressed. I was sure that the captives had been feeling even worse about it than I did. I wanted to improve my mood, so I took a deep breath when...
Olga! Oreja! Sakamoto Ryoma-ja!
That voice, could it be? But there's no way he'd be here.
おい、そこの不審な男、ここがどこだか分かっているのか？勝手に豚書に入ってくるな。
I mean, Soma's correct.
キヤキ。今の声はあいつにも聞こえちゅうはずやき。そのうち出てくるちや。
Sakamoto-san? I caught sight of his flowy hair. It was him. But what was he doing here? As my voice cracks. As I recalled what had happened the last time he visited the compounds, I began to panic.
雪村先輩、知り合いなんですか？
Kinda.
一言じゃ表せんような深い仲よ。いや。
Yeah, it really can't be. Stop saying things like that. You'll give off the wrong impression. Anyways, what are you doing here? Did you have business with the warriors?
いや、チックと今日に来る用事があったき、寄ってみただけやき。言うても、ここじゃ話せんき。外行って話そうや。
He grabbed me by the arm and he tried to lead the both of us outside of the compounds. Mate! I can't go out by myself! However, Sakamoto-san paid my words no heed and he turned to face Soma.
こいつは借りていくぜよ。すぐに戻ると、土方に伝えちょいてくれ。ほんなら行くぜよ。
Mate! Sakamoto-san! I really can't... I couldn't resist him. And so he took me out of the Nishihonwaji temple. Oh god, we're being dragged. Shortly after, I found myself taking a leisurely stroll through the town of Kyoto with him. No. Sakamoto-san, I think we should go back. I'll get in trouble later.
大丈夫やき。俺が後で一緒に怒られちゃう。
You fucking troublemaker. That's no better at all. Ugh.
俺から何か役に立つ情報を聞きたいたら、あいつらにうるそう言われんと済むがやろ。
Well, that may be true, but... That's not enough of a reason for me to leave the compounds without a word! Sakamoto-san laughed, his whole body shaking heavily.
おまんは浮かない顔しちゅうより、そうやって怒っちゅう方がええ。
I felt my heart pound as his eyes thinned. Being told that I look better when I'm angry and also you putting down my sad face doesn't make me happier. I felt myself blushing and I looked away.
まあ、そうか。おまんはどんな顔しちゅう時でも可愛いき。
Like I said, whenever I spend time with Sakamoto-san, I find myself drawn into his wit and candor. There was no way I could keep my composure. Eventually, we passed by a shop which caught Sakamoto-san's eye.
お、かんざしや。一つ紅茶ろうか。
いいえ。
遠慮する必要ないき。これらおまんに似合いそうやけんど。ほら。
Hey, Isaac. Sakamoto-san reached for a beautiful dragonfly hairpin, and he placed it gently into my hair.
ああ、やっぱり似合う。自分の見立ての良さに自分でも驚くにゃ。
Why wasn't this a CG? I'd love to see it, but fuck. His tendency to contemplate me with his warm, charming voice never failed to make my heart skip a beat. Even if you bought it for me, I couldn't just bring it back into the compounds. Sakamoto-san stared deeply into my eyes, and I caught my own reflection from looking into his. And then...
ああ、そうか。年頃の娘に男の格好をさせて閉じ込めちょくらーて。新選組のやつらもひどい真似するにゃ。
へえ! He returned the hairpin to its original place, and we continued walking.
の、どっか行きたいところはあるかい？せっかくやき、見たいところを片っ端から見て回ることにしようや。
No, Stop worrying about me. How about you? Are you alright? I hear that many people are after you.
大丈夫やろ。俺はこれからの日本に必要な男やき。日本が俺を死なせたりせんろ。
You have no idea what you're saying. Ah. Although I didn't agree totally with what he said. I was thinking about how he had survived back at the Terada Inn. It really did seem... It really did seem like he was born for something special, possessing an extraordinary sense of luck that made him seem invincible. Maybe Sakamoto-san was rubbing off on me. It felt quite strange to think about him like this. What the hell, Isaac? That's... Okay. After doing some sightseeing... Fuck. After doing some sightseeing in Kyoto, we had made our way to the Kamo River for a break.
こういて川を眺める側も悪うないけんど。やっぱり俺は海の方がええにゃ。
Have you ever lived near the ocean, Sakamoto-san?
ああ、土佐の生まれやき。ガキの頃は陸におるより海で泳ぎよった方が長かったぐらいやき。
That can't be true, right? I heard you had siblings. What kind of people are they?
あように両親が亡くなったき。兄貴と姉貴が親代わりみたいなもんやった。三つ上に乙女ねえいう姉貴がおるがよ。この姉貴がすごうて読み書き剣術いろんなもんを教わったがよ。
Alright, that's impressive for an older sister, alright. Wow. Sakamoto-san continued to talk excitedly about his life in the Tosa and about his family. He looked as though he had so much fun telling me the stories. I really got the sense of how strongly he felt connected to his family and to his people. But you've left your domain, right? If you love your hometown that much, doesn't it hurt you not to return? As Sakamoto-san looked at me before responding, I could see the conflict resting in his heart through his eyes. Pardon me. That's none of my business. I'm sorry. I don't know, maybe? I don't think Sakamoto is that rare of a last name, so... He quietly shifted his gaze towards the flow of the river. You can investigate, Isaac.
土佐のことが嫌いなわけやないけんど、あそこにはつまらんしきたりが山ほどあるき。
Rules? Then he moved his line aside towards the sky, as if counting himself with the rest of the stars.
俺は豪士の生まれながよ。土佐の侍には上司と豪士という二つの身分がある。
Country samurai, lower strata of the samurai class. In the Tosa domain, it points to the descendants of the Chosakabe clan before the Yamauchi clan governed. High-ranking retainer. The high ranking of the samurai class. In the Tosa domain, it points mainly to the retainers of the Yamauchi clan, who became the new governors.
豪士に生まれたら旅は派遣し、雨がザーザー降りよっても下駄を履けん。 夏の暑い日でも日傘もさせ。
That's some dumb rules. Why do they do that? Oh.
先祖が関ヶ原の戦いの時、徳川方の敵やったというだけよ。260年も昔の顔を見たこともない先祖がしたことで、この先ずっと見下され続けんといかんがやと。バカバカしろ。
You have a point. I could only nod in response. Of course, if you challenge someone to war and lose, you're going to be punished accordingly, but after 260 years, where's the line drawn? Why continue to let people suffer? Is it really worth it to make descendants of your enemies, people who were years removed from being involved, suffer forever? I think in the past you said something like how the Mori shogunate or Shimazu shogunate could do everything the Tokugawa can. Then what kind of world are you striving for, Sakamoto-san? His smile shaped into a stoic expression, and he gazed into my eyes.
肝心な時に役に立たん侍連中が威張り腐っちゅう世の中を変える。
I gulped. In our government, it was customary for samurai of the shogunate's clan or the Hatamoto to promote and educate from within. There was no way people unfamiliar with the system could easily assume these positions. But Sakamoto-san spoke as if it could be easily done.
おかしいと思わんかい？本人がどれば無能でも、家に生まれただけで出世が約束されるらて。海の向こうのアメリカ地国では、能力があるやつを入れ札で選んで殿様にするらしいぜよ。
Yeah, but our system is just as fucked. I mean, it might have worked back in those days, but now it's just fucked. Vote? Who votes for them?
武士や百姓、町人、全員が一つずつ札を持っちょって、殿様にしたいやつの名前を書くらしい。で、選ばれたやつが集まって、議会一門を作って、話し合いでいろんなことを決めるがよ。
All that he said was so different from Japan. I stood in awe hearing all of the things he said about how the West governed things. Something beyond my imagination. Could you really do such a thing? In Japan?
できる。西洋人じゃろうが、日本人じゃろうが。頭の中身は一緒やち。前に言うたろ。
But Japan currently has all of these predicaments. You know, like the shogunate, imperial court, feudal lords. I think it's good that they work as a group to make decisions and discuss issues, but could something like that really happen here? I don't know. However, Sakamoto-san seemed nonplussed about my question, and he responded with confidence.
できんことはないき。ペルリが来た時と同じことをしてやればええがよ。
Why are you taking a book out of Perry's book? I mean, a page out of Perry's book. What did he mean? Using the black ships? Or using weapons and threats to force people to listen?
幕府やちバカやない。薩長が自分たちと同じか、それ以上の力を持っちゅうと分かれば、無下にはできんの。武器言う側は、戦をするための道具やのうて、相手と交渉するための道具ながよ。俺は別に戦を仕掛けたいわけやない。 幕府と将軍優雅をなくいて、みんなが公平な新しい世の中を作りたいだけながよ。
Sakamoto here is like, I want to start a new thing, a new government, something without the shogun, and possibly also without the emperor as well. I don't know how to respond, and I look down. Sakamoto-san claimed that he didn't want to start a war, but the people he's working with absolutely do want to start a war. Depending on how the shogun responds to his actions, a war could just as easily erupt. But even if what Sakamoto-san aspires for comes into fruition, could we really create a world where there's no such thing as a shogunate or even the samurai? Somewhere in my head, I'm kind of like, I wish we still stuck with swords and stuff. Because I feel like that's less destruction than the weapons we have currently. Swords required a much more masterful skill than a gun, though you do need training with a gun. It's a lot less destructive? Maybe? I don't know. I just don't like how we have to use technology for hell instead of using something much more masterful than a sword. That's how I see the world anyway. Just then.
坂本様、探しましたよ。そろそろお帰りになってくださらないと。
Oh.
あら、あなたは。
Kaoru? You're Sakamoto-san's acquaintance?
ええ、同じ土佐出身ですから。
ま、出身が同じっちゅうだけでちょっとしたつながりよ。
ちょっとしたなどと残念です。
Sakamoto-san's dismissal of Kaoru made my stomach turn from the awkwardness of his response. How could they be connected? I suppose it was really none of my business to ask, however.
言うじょっけんど色っぽい関係はないで。なんちゅうか、目付け役みたいなもんよ。
I see. His reassurance made me feel a little more at ease. But I don't know why I had felt that way at all.
しかし、こう言ってみよったら、二人はよう似ちゅうにゃ。いろんな意味で。
Really? Ogata had said something similar before as well. Do Kaoru and I really look alike?
相変わらず坂本さんはお上手ですね。調子がいいことばかりおっしゃるんですから。でも雪村さん、気をつけた方がいいですよ。坂本さんは海の男ですから。あちこちの港にいい人がいると聞きますし、祇園の女性からもとても表になると評判ですもの。
Really?
おいおい、変なこと吹き込みなや。ほんならって作る暇あるわけないろ。それに、加害の女は世辞を言うのが仕事みたいなもんじゃろ。
表になるのは女性だけじゃないですよね。幕府にあだなす薩摩や長州の方々ともとても懇意にしてらっしゃいますし、特に無頼だと評判の長州の高杉さんとは大の仲良しだとか。
Takasugi. Shinsaku Takasugi, a Choshu warrior who belonged to the Imperial Nationalist Party. He established new troops such as the Kiheitai.
新選組にお世話になってらっしゃる雪村さんには耐え難いのではないかしら。
俺が長州の奴らと付き合いいうことら、こいつは100も承知よ。今さら言われても驚かんき。いや。
そういえば先日、紀州藩に難癖をつけて大金をせしめたらしいですね。
Kishu the man, one of the three main branches of the Tokugawa clan, the domain where the 14th shogun Iemochi Tokugawa was born.
御三家の紀州徳川家の方々が大層お冠だったと聞きますよ。
One of the three big Tokugawa clans?
ちょっとした船の事故で難癖じゃなくて迷惑料を受け取っただけよ。万国広報にのっとってのことよ。
噂だと土佐藩を通じて幕府に建白書をお出しになったのも坂本様なんですよね。あの慶喜公に将軍をお辞めになってはどうですかなんて進言なさったとか。おかげで幕府の方々から大層睨まれているそうじゃありませんか。肝が太くていらっしゃいますこと。
さすがお目付け役。いろんなことをよう調べちゅう。
If Sakamoto-san wasn't denying everything Kaoru said, then was everything she said true? I never really thought about it until now. Was Sakamoto-san really the illustrious man that I thought he was? Eventually, Kaoru asked a hushed question.
こんな坂本さんのことどう思います？
I think he's a good person deep down. I think he's a good person deep down.
いい人？
His attitude and speech may be gruff, but he always looks out for me, and he does his best when I'm in need, and he cheers me up. He's a bold man, so sometimes he can get off on the wrong foot with people. But deep down, I think he's a good person. As I told her how I felt, Kaoru sighed heavily, and she was annoyed with my response.
まったくもう騙されてますよ、雪村さん。
見る目があるちいうことやろ。どうせやったらええ人やのうてええ男ち言うてほしかったけんど。
それでは雪村さん、私たちはこれで失礼させていただきます。
さよなら。
西本願寺まで送り届けちゃりたいけんど、そうさせてもくれんみたいやね。
Then Sakamoto-san shouted.
おい、どうせ近くで誰かが見張りゆうがやろ。
Oops, it's Yamazaki. In response, a rustle came from behind the embankment.
ほんならまたにゃ。次に会えるがはいつかわからんけんど、元気にしちょれよ。
That was another glitch. What the fuck? I nodded, and suddenly Sakamoto-san had placed his arm around my neck. Oi! What are you doing? Sakamoto-san? I panicked, pushing his arms away from me.
あいつには気をつけ。
I looked in the direction to which his chin was pointing, and I saw Kaoru. And then...
それから、この先、たとえ幕府がどうなっても恨むなよ。
You mean? I wanted to ask him to clarify what he'd meant by that, but Sakamoto-san took Kaoru away, and they left the Kamo River. What did he mean? Does it mean that war will come soon?
雪村君、そろそろ豚舎に戻るぞ。雪村君
Gomen. I seem to have been caught in a daze.
体調でも悪いのか。少し休んでからの方がいいか。
Yeah. I'm fine. Let's head back to the compounds.
そうか。では行くぞ。
My heart was heavy with worry, and the ink lingered for a few moments longer. It wasn't something I could tell others, much less the warriors, though. So I spent the next few days in a deep reflection, and it was difficult to shake my concerns. July! It's July! I'm turning the air on because we're skipping this. 3 months have passed. Yep, this is the scene I'm thinking of. So let's get through all of this.
Yeah.
Send Kimigiku here to attempt to take us away from the Shinsengumi because they don't feel they can protect us fully from Kazuma. And then it gets revealed that, I'm a demon and Kazuma's a demon, Amagiri's a demon, and Shiranumi is a demon. Send is a demon and so is Kimigiku.
このバこと鬼を認定す鬼人
それ
今そしてあな雪ですあな
And we get to learn what happened to our family. That really weird demon from Demon Clan. Last remaining member. And blah 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 blah.
そう
おきじあなです
あんた
何より
Sen and Kimiko still don't believe that Shinsengumi are up to the task of protecting us. Which are kinda right. But the men are fucking stubborn. But Kondo-san ultimately realizes and is the gentleman of the group that they need to confirm one important thing.
肝心なこと
雪村君、君はどう思う？
Yeah, that. So now we're gonna go into a private room with Sen so we can talk it over privately.
ありがとつごめんまあ生き鬼そしん
And now we gotta talk about things.
こんそんなあなたは新選組もし誰
A
か
reason to stay?
心に思う人がいるとか
In this case, the answer is, no. No, it's not that. I'm confused. All this time. I thought I was human. My ability to heal has been a little strange, perhaps, but I'd never thought that meant I wasn't even human. Or perhaps I just never allowed myself to think that. To try and hide my condition made me lonely enough. If I had allowed myself to believe I wasn't human, then it would have driven me even further away.
気持ちはわかるけどもう時間がないのそれに目をそらしてもあなたが鬼だっていう事実は変えられないわ
But none of this makes any sense. Not only am I a demon, but I'm the last survivor of some big demon clan? It's all just...
わからないか
For a moment, she looked suddenly lonely.
でもどうしても嫌だって言うなら無理強いはできないわよね
I'm sorry. It's not that I don't trust you or anything, son. Could you just give me some time to think? I wanted to find my father and ask him if what she had told me was the truth. Maybe then I can accept the fact that I am a demon. And now we say goodbye to everybody because we made our choice. We're staying.
どうだ
はい。
そういう
Yawning is kicking my ass. Da 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 da. Now we're safe in our room and we're waiting there and we hear swords. Shibata's here to protect us. But, protect us from Kazuma and his cronies. But now we got some choices to make. And the first one is, we're gonna go find the others. We have to go, Shimada.
いけません。絶対に君をここから出すなと副長が仰せです。
We've seen this scene before. I know what scene it is. We've seen it before. We're going. Poor Shimada is gonna get thrown across the fucking courtyard, and I feel so bad for him. And we're caught by Cosmo. Na 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 na. This is like the third time we've seen this scene. You don't even know anything. And it's gonna. There you go. Harada is just here with the comebacks. I know we're not here for them, but we'll get to it because Harada just has words. Fighting words. So what am I gonna do? Try to attack? Try to attack. Kazuma had a good hold on me from behind, but he hadn't bothered to restrain my arms. There was nothing I could do. I wouldn't dare to attack him. Or perhaps he thought that even if I did, he'd have no difficulty dealing with my attacks. I wasn't foolish enough to think I might actually beat him in a fight, but at least I could try and defend myself. I jerked out my sword. Yeah! I attacked Kazuma with all my might. However, Kazuma easily dodged my swing. His hand slid to my wrist and he twisted viciously. It was strong enough that I thought for a moment my bones would break. With a cry, my sword flew from my fingers. My aborted attack had distracted Kazuma for only a split second, but that was all the time Hijikata-san needed. Within the space of a breath, he closed the distance between himself and my captor, the tip of his blade leaping towards Kazuma's throat. Almost too quickly to see, he leaned out of the way. Hijikata-san's blade hissed through the air, centimeters from his neck. A lesser man or a human would have been dead. And so, for a moment, Kazuma's demon strength and reflexes were focused on the sword at his throat. The movement was enough for me to break free. He gripped my arm and my body was jerked into him. Hijikata-san. I felt a gentle, powerful arm curl around my body, catching and sheltering me at the same time. I know. I'm sorry. What?
あいつに隙ができたのはお前のおかげだ。よくやったな。
Perhaps Hijikata-san was not something I was accustomed to. I opened my mouth to say. I wasn't sure what when.
土方とやら、その薄汚い手を離せ。
Kazuma's pissed because somebody touched his woman.
その女は俺のものだ。人間ごときに渡すわけにはいかん。
Kazuma had recovered quickly from the attack, and his eyes smoldered with cold fury.
悪いが渡してやるわけにはいかねえな。こいつは今新選組が預かってるんだ。人のものに手を出すんじゃね
え。I felt his grip on me tighten as he spoke.
雪村、俺と共に来い。お前は誇り高き鬼の一族なのだぞ。そのような汚らわしい生き物どものもとに身を置くべきではない。
The image of Shimada being relentlessly thrown against the wall flashed before me. Even if I was part of a demon clan like he was. No! I'll never join you! I'm staying here! Now please, please leave!
人間ごときに情を移すか。
こりゃいいや。風間が女に振られるところを見物できるなんてよ。いいもの見させてもらったぜ。
黙れ知らぬい。
Oh no. Hijikata was having trouble with Kazuma alone. Now we also have Shiranui to deal with. Just then.
お待たせしてしまい申し訳ありません、土方君。これから彼らの相手は我々羅刹隊が務めさせていただきます。
そんなんさ。
そちらの彼ですが、先ほど面白いことを言っていましたね。我々のことをまがいものの鬼だとかなんとか。ちょうどいい機会です。この力の進化をその身でとくと味わっていただくことにしましょうか。
Sana-san's hair was stark white, and his eyes were red. He led the Fury Crypts towards Kazuma and his men.
新手のようですね。どうしますか、風間。
決まってんだろ。まがいものごとき何人いようが俺たちの敵じゃねえ。片っ端からやっちまおうぜ。いずれ掃除しなきゃならねえんだしな。
我が刀をまがいものごときの血で怪我してやることもある。
おい風間、
この場は引いてやる。だが諦めたわけではない。その女鬼は必ず手に入れてやる。その時を楽しみに待っている。
待ちやがれ。
Hijikata-san tried to run after them. With no further deliberation, they leapt over the wall of the street and were gone.
どうします？追いますか？
やめておけ。今日の人間にあんたらの姿を見られるのはまずい。
承知しました。では今夜はここまでということで。
My body sagged with relief as the terrified energy of the last few minutes quickly ebbed away. Hijikata-san. Arigato.
礼には及ばねえ。こっちにはこっちの事情があってお前を守っただけだからな。お前はさっさと部屋に戻ってろ。
Hijikata-san then ordered the warriors to check on for any casualties at the compound. His face was cold and hard, the face of the demon of the Shinsengumi. As the loss of his warmth left me, I shivered in the cold night air. And morning time.
無理。おい
We've seen this before. It's an announcement of the we gotta move. We're being kicked out, but we're not being kicked out without a place to live because the monks at the Nishihonwanji temple is like, hey, we can buy you some land and build you a new compound just so that we can get you the fuck out of our temple. August 1867. 2 months have passed since the Shinsengumi moved their headquarters from the Nishihonwanji temple to Fudodo village. I'd finished cleaning and putting away the dishes from dinner and I gave a small sigh.
雪村君、あとは私がやっておくから、君は先に休んでいたまえ。
But I'm fine. The amount of plates has become way less than normal. I stopped myself. I'm sorry,
いや、気にしないでくれ。大使が少なくなったのは本当だからね。斉藤君も東堂君もきっと伊藤さんの下で頑張っているはずだよ。我々も負けないよう努力しなくてはね。
I suppose.
さあ、部屋に戻りなさい。子供は夜更かしをしてはいけないよ。
I'm not a child anymore. But thank you. I'll take up on your offer. I bowed to him and I left the common room. However, I just couldn't bring myself to return to my room so soon. I instinctively began heading towards the dojo. At night, the dojo had always been the emptiest room, which meant it was also the quietest one. During the days of our previous headquarters, I would often see Heisuke and Saito training in and around the dojo. Obviously, since coming here, I was unable to see them train with their wooden swords. To make matters worse, Okuta had been feeling even more ill as of late, and it was a rare occurrence to see him train in the dojo as well. I knew that it couldn't be helped, but it was still saddening to never see people whom I'd become accustomed to seeing daily. Just then, I thought I heard something behind me, and I almost snapped my neck rushing to turn around. Someone here? As far as I knew, Nagakura and Hanada should have been drinking on their night out. Was someone breaking in? Suddenly, someone had come from behind me, hugging me with his arms and pinning me down. What? Ah! Who is this? I tried screaming, but whoever it was covered my mouth with his hand, so I couldn't call for help. What was going on? Oh, Lord. How could a burglar have broken into the Shinsengumi compounds?
声を出しなや。下手に騒がれて他の連中が駆けつけてくると面倒なことになるき。
This voice. After I stopped rustling and making sounds, he had loosened his grip. Sakamoto-san, what are you doing here?
ちっと訳ありでにゃ。探し物をしに来たがやけんど、ここずいぶん広いにゃ。どこに何があるかさっぱりわからんぜよ。
What are you looking for?
近藤か土方を呼んできてくれるろうか。他の連中じゃ話にならんき。
The two of them are still out of the compounds, and they haven't returned yet. I told him everything I knew, and Sakamoto-san furrowed his brows out of clear frustration.
外出中か。俺としたことが今日は間が悪いにゃ。
Why are you acting so recklessly? If other warriors would have found you, you would have been in so much trouble. Sakamoto-san was catching... Whoops! Sakamoto-san was catching criticism lately for selling weapons to both the Satsuma and the Choshu. For the Shogun and Shinsengumi, his affiliation essentially branded him as an enemy. For him to physically come to the Shinsengumi compounds must mean that what he wanted to discuss was of the utmost importance.
探し物ちゅうだろ。新選組についての妙な噂を小耳に挟んだきよ。
Suspicious rumors? Sakamoto was locked in contemplation, but then he peeked up and answered.
どうせおまんは聞かされてないろ。羅刹とかいう化け物のことは。
What? How do you even know about them, Sakamoto-san? Upon seeing my reaction, Sakamoto-san looked at me with shock, but eventually he gathered himself.
なんぜおまんも知っちょったがかい。まあ、行動の娘なら聞かされちょってもおかしゅうないが。なら話が早い。あの羅刹いうがは一体何ながで答えや。
Sakamoto-san wasn't acting like his usual playful self, instead assuming an air of intimidation. What was going on here? How could Sakamoto-san have learned about the Furies?
女相手に手荒な真似はしとうない。素直に答えてくれ。
There's no way I could tell him. Even though it was Sakamoto-san, I couldn't reveal the truth about the Furies or the Water of Life. Wakaranai. I don't know anything. I couldn't take the pressure he had been putting on me under, so I tried to make a run for it.
待て!
He grabbed my shoulders to stop me. Just then,
やれやれ、我々も随分舐められたものですね。新選組屯所に入り込んだ患者の末路がどうなったか知らぬ君ではないと思いますが。
Sakamoto-san squinted upon hearing this voice as it interrupted us from the doorway. Before Sakamoto-san could assume his stance, Sanan-san had appeared, roughly grabbing my arm and pulling me towards him forcefully. He had adjusted his stance defensively, as if trying to protect me from Sakamoto-san. Sanan-san! I had called Sanan-san's name to stop him, but he was intently focused on Sakamoto-san, never breaking his gaze as he stared deeply into the intruder's eyes.
君は先ほど羅刹について知りたいと言っていましたね。そんなに知りたければ教えてあげますよ。身をもってね。
His smirk was filled with confidence. In an instant, the sound effect didn't go. His hair flashed and became a ghostly white, and his irises turned into a deep crimson. Sakamoto-san didn't even flinch, seemingly enthralled by what was unfolding before him.
雪村君、下がっていなさい。これから何があっても手出しはなりませんよ。
I wonder what Sanan-san was thinking. Was he going to...
下がっていなさいというのが聞こえないのですか?
He was raising his voice and I stepped back. Then Sanan-san raised both of his hands without holding anything in either hand.
どうぞ、どこからでもかかってきてください。
Sakamoto-san's expression looked dubious. He whipped out his western pistol from under his kimono, and he had pointed it towards Sanan-san. Then, please no! Sanan-san! Before Sakamoto-san could pull the trigger, Sanan-san kicked the floor beneath him and charged towards Sakamoto-san like a rabid wolf.
Nani?
Humans weren't capable of jumping with such power. To me, and maybe even Sakamoto-san, it was an awe-inspiring, if not frightening, display of power. Sakamoto-san shot his pistol as a reflex. Then, in the span of a moment, it looked as though Sanan-san's shadow flickered in the darkness. Then, the dull thud of the bullet hitting the wall behind Sanan-san was followed by the sight of smoke wisping from the fresh hole in the wall. Sanan-san had seen, in the blink of an eye, the path of the bullet as it flew rapidly towards him, and he somehow was able to move out of its way. Sakamoto-san dipped with cold sweat. His face was frozen out of shock. Then, Sanan-san grabbed Sakamoto-san's collar and he lifted him up with ease. I was hoping we would get a CG of this scene because holy shit, Sanan! Sakamoto-san was writhing in pain above, but Sanan-san didn't even lift his eyebrow in reaction. Sakamoto-san had managed to wiggle his way out of many difficult situations in Kyoto. It wasn't an indication in the least bit of his prowess as a fighter, but right now, Sakamoto-san was being thrown around by Sanan-san like a petulant child's ragdoll.
いかがです?知りたいことはあらかた理解できましたか?
God, this is a... I kinda sorta... I wish this scene was in Sanan-san's route. I need to write it down, hold on. Okay, yeah. This scene should have been in both, except where them being unknown as Sakamoto was like a spy thing. That should have happened. This should have happened.
ああ、十分すぎるほどに、にゃあ。おんしゃ、三男とか言うたか。俺の負けぎ。勘弁してくれ。
His face was grimacing from the pain, yet he still snuck in a smirk as if attempting to humor his way to be let go. Sanan-san, on the other hand, showed as much expression as a no mask. No mask?
まだ我々のことを詳しく知りたいとお考えですか?
ああ、どうしても調べんといかんがよ。
新選組の秘密だからですか? そもそも羅刹の存在をどのようにして知ったのです?
それは近藤と土方が戻ってきてから話しちゃら。
Sakamoto-san was clearly at a disadvantage here. Depending on his choice of words, he could have been killed on the spot. But surprisingly, Sakamoto-san still possessed his usual ambivalent and cocksure attitude. It was as though he were completely confident that there was nothing he could say or do that would actually get him killed. Then seemingly out of nowhere.
三男君、こんなところでどうしたんだね。ん？君は？
てめえは坂本！ここへ何をしに来やがった？
Sanan-san, who still looked completely stoic, answered.
我々について詳しく知りたいとのことですよ。せっかくのお客様です。丁重にもてなそうではありませんか。
We went to the common room, and the men sat around Sakamoto-san hoping to get some answers. Gondo-san, Hijikata-san, and Sanan-san were all present. Outside of the room, however, were Yamazaki, Inoue, and Shimada, all standing by. If Sakamoto-san made any sudden or conspicuous movements, I assumed they'd kill him instantly.
あの武器商人、グラバーに会うたがは、俺が船を手に入れてからすぐのことやった。
Glover? Glover? Glover, an English merchant who specializes in arms stealing. He uses Nagasaki as his base.
なんでも、絶対に幕府を倒せる武器があるとかで。そこで見たがが、さっきのオンシャーと同じ。白い髪と赤い目を持つ化け物の姿やった。人の武器は通じん、怪我がすぐに治る。野生の獣を上回る力を持っちゅう。確かにそいつがあれば、倒幕らで簡単にできるろうと思うた。俺の同志も興味を持っちょったみたいやけんど。どういても、腑に落ちんことが2つあった。どういて西洋人どもはそんな便利なもんを自分らで独り占めせんと、ご親切に俺らに売ってくれるがやろうか。そして俺らよりも先に異国との貿易をしよった幕府に同じものが渡っちゅうことはないろうかってよ。おいたらグラバーはこう言うがよ。幕府側も羅刹を使い言う。おまんらも対抗せんかったらなすすべなく敗れることになりますよと。調べてみたら、どうやら新選組でも同じものを研究しうらしいことが分かった。
そのことをどこで知ったんだ？
答えたらこっちの質問にも答えてくれるかい？
約束はできねえな。まあ教えられることなら教えてやらなくもねえが。
食えん男やにゃ。まあええ。教えたち別に俺が損するわけやないき。グラバーが言いよったがよ。新選組にも羅刹がおる。そしてそれを新選組に持ち込んだ側は行動やち。818の政変の後ぐらいやったが、行動はその武器商人のところに厄介になっちょって、そこで羅刹の実験を続けよったらしい。
Well, that's something I haven't seen before. 818 political change. An incident in 1863 where the Aizu and Satsuma domains who favored the shogunate's marital union with the imperial family were exiled from Kyoto by the Choshu domains. Aizu and Satsuma domains who favored the shogunate's marital union with the imperial family were exiled from Kyoto. Okay. Doesn't really explain in my head what that's about. My heart froze. My father was not only experimenting on the Shinsengumi, but on others for his fury research.
大丈夫かね、雪村君。聞いているのが辛ければ席を外しても構わんが。
Yeah, I'm fine. I attempted to stay composed in this moment, even though it tugged at my heart to hear it. This was a grievous sin committed by my father. Grievous sin committed by my father. As his daughter, I couldn't dare shrug this aside.
話は分かった。で、わざわざここに来た理由は何だ？
決まっちゅうやいか。そんな実験は今すぐやめや。西洋を利するだけやき。
His directness created a palpable tension in the room.
これは面白いことをおっしゃいますね。 あなたにそのようなことを命ずる権限はないはずです
が。オンシャラ、秦国がイギリスにどんな目に遭わされたか知らんがか。アヘンを売りつけられて富を奪われ、国の中をめちゃくちゃにされた挙句戦をふっかけられたがぞ。同じことがこの日本でも起きゆうがぞ。あんなものを野放しにしたら日本はイギリスの植民地になったインドや上海と同じ運命をたどってしまうき。考えてみや。幕府がオンシャラに羅刹なんぞの実験を申し付けた側は何であろうち。直参の家臣と違うて使い捨ててもかまん安い命やきに決まっちゅうろうが。そんな幕府の命令に律儀に従うて汚れ仕事を引き受ける意味らってどこにあるがで。やめてしまえ、くだらんき。どうせ侍らーてもんはじきにこの世からおらんなるき。
This must have been the last straw. I could see Hijikata-san seething in anger, and hatred was practically flaming in his eyes as he glared.
随分とご立派なことを抜かしてくれやがるな。痛み入るぜ。羅刹が下道の策だ。だったら、てめえが薩長相手にやってることは何なんだ。武器を売り渡して、国内を混乱させて、争いの火種を撒いて回ってるんじゃねえか。使えば人が死ぬって点に関しちゃ羅刹も妖獣も変わりがねえだろ
う。まあ俺やち人様に褒められるようなことをしゆうとは思うちゃせん。救いようがない悪党よ俺は。けんど悪党には悪党の道理がある。羅刹らいうもんは人が扱いきれる代物やないき。
ふん、てめえの頭の中にしかねえ道理なんぞに従ってやる義理はねえな。
トシ、そのぐらいにしておけ。
After hearing the two of them bicker back and forth, Kondo-san put a stop to it.
我々としても薩長側が羅刹を使ってくるとなれば相応の策を講じねばなるまい。そして薩長側の羅刹実験を止めるというのは我々にとっても利点があることだろう。
彼は薩長側のではなく我々の羅刹実験をもやめさせたい様子ですが、少なくとも前者の目的に関しては我々は協力し合うことができますね。
後者に関しては譲るつもりはないいうことかい。
体内にはすでに羅刹となっている者がいるもので、世の中というのは道理だけで成り立っているものではないのですよ。
Sanan-san grinned coolly. Both parties were speaking in a roundabout fashion that made it difficult to discern what would come from their discussion. In the least, both the Shinsengumi and Sakamoto-san acknowledged the dangerous potential from the furies and the consequences of carelessness.
ひとまず行動さんの消息と西国で羅刹がどの程度利用されているのかが気にかかりますね。
Hold on. There we go. I don't think that's gonna hold up, but I clipped my hair.
坂本くん、もし何かつかめたら我々に教えてくれますか？
交換条件は？
そうですね。君が知りたがっていること、羅刹に関する実態を明かすというのはいかがでしょう。例えば弱点が何であるのかを知ることができれば、倒す策を考えることも可能だと思いますが。
映画か？おまんらの命取りになるぜよ。
さあ、それはどうでしょう。弱点が分かったとしても、羅刹は容易には殺せませんよ。
Sakamoto-san and Sana-san watched each other, smirking from having made a compromise finally. Hijikata-san furrowed his brow, and it seemed like he couldn't wait to be done with all of this.
まさかてめえと手を組むことになるとはな。
別に手を組んだ覚えはないぜよ。共通の目的があるき、仲良しごっこをしゆだけよ。
これで今の薩長の動きでも明かしてくれりゃ、少しは見直してやる気になるんだがな。
そいつは自分らで調べてくれ。俺は幕府らでさっさとなくなればええと思うちゅうき。
なくすわけねえだろバカが。夢物語なら布団の中でほざきやがれ。
坂本君、今後君と連絡を取る際はどうすればいい？
Sakamoto-san looked towards me.
彼女を通じて頼りを横いてくれ。
Me? What?
ああ、こいつらの呼び出しにいちいち応じてここに出入りしよったら、あらぬ疑いをかけられそうやき。
Sakamoto-san spoke so matter-of-factly at times, but I had to think about myself. Here, was it really worth the risk to help him this way? I'll do it. It was a lot of responsibility to be the courier for information that included the Furies. Still, I could understand where Sakamoto-san was coming from. We wouldn't be dependent on the Furies. If I want to stop my father, I need to do everything in my power to do so. Alright, I'll do it.
おまんならそう言うてくれると思うちょった。頑張ろうにゃ。ほんなら今日のところはこれでおいとまさせてもらおうか。今後もよろしゅう頼むぜよ。
たく面倒なことになっちまったな。
雪村君、彼を表まで送ってあげてくれるかね。
はい。As we were approaching the exit, Sakamoto-san began muttering his frustrations to me.
にしても、どいつもこいつもギリだの己の対面だのつまらんことにこだわるにゃ。
I don't think it's dumb. You were saying that the men of the Shinsengumi were just being used by the shogunate, but I don't think they see it that way. I think they are fully aware of what is being asked of them, and they are the ones who are assuming that risk.
あの時の俺の言葉が気に障ったか。けんど俺はさっきの言葉を引っ込めるつもりはないき。礼節だの忠義だの言うがは下の人間を便利にこき使う方便に過ぎ。
So, do you think the sacrifices they made every day are stupid or something?
そこまでは言うちゃせん。ただ守るべきは徳川家長か、それともこの日本地国そのもの長か、そこをきちんと考えるべきやろ。後先考えずに刀を抜く側はバカだけ。みんながみんな賢かったら 無駄に争う理由らってなくなる気に。
I could understand where he was coming from, but I couldn't quite bring myself to agree with him totally, so I just stayed silent. Sakamoto-san moved on to say something as if it just popped into his head.
あ、そうよ。中岡には今日のことは内緒にしといてくれるか。俺がここに来たちいうことも。
Why?
あいつはどうにも肝がこんもうて心配性やき。軽率な行動は控えろだの。青筋立てて説教されるに決まっちゅう。
I could picture that happening. The image of Nakaoka nagging and bothering Sakamoto-san was so funny I couldn't help but laugh.
ほんなら頼んだぞ。また今度にゃ。
Alright, goodbye. Just like that, Sakamoto-san walked swiftly away from the compounds. So many unexpected things had happened today. I have no idea what to make of it all. Who would have thought my father would be a part of the Fury experiments in the West? Why, father? Now I knew. It was... That's a weird sentence. It wasn't just the Shinsengumi men, but people all over the West being experimented on. I wanted so badly with all of my heart to confront my father, and this hopeless yearning for answers lingered as I walked back into the compounds alone. November 1867. A gust of wind struck me from. Is this Yep, we can go through this. Hey, water. I'm gonna turn the air on. That's really hot. November. Oh no. November 1867. Okay, now water. Num. Num num num. It's freezing. We had reached the middle of November and the wintry air had engulfed the entire country. My body shivered against the unrelentingly nippy air, and I was sweeping some leaves. Harada and Inoue were returning from the market, and they approached me, bundled in warm clothing. Are they, though?
掃除は適当に切り上げて構わねえぜ。寒いだろ。
Oh, this is nothing.
そうかい。無理をしてはいけないよ。
I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, though. I continued to sweep the fallen leaves, and then I heard Harada mutter something.
そういや、坂本のやつが今、京に来てるらしいぜ。お前の元に頼りは来てるのか。
Sakamoto-san? No, he hasn't sent me anything.
なんでも、先日の大政奉還は彼の発案によるものだと聞くからね。忙しいのかもしれないね。
忙しいどころじゃねえだろう。あっちこっちから狙われて息つく間もないらしいって聞くぜ。
Looking for him?
薩長としちゃ戦をやって徳川家から天下をもぎ取りたかったのに肩透かしを食わされちまったからな。
そうだね。見回り組や伏見奉行所も躍起になって彼を探しているらしいし、
The Mima Warigumi and the Fushimi magistrate. Those were the men who attempted to arrest Sakamoto-san at the Terada Inn.
彼らは寺田屋での騒動の時、坂本君に面目を潰されているからね。異種返しを考えているのかもしれない。
I see. It seems as if my world was changing faster than I could keep up with, and my heart raced. More than anything, I hoped Sakamoto-san was safe. Just as the thought entered my mind. Nagakura and Shimada, who just completed their rounds, approached the group of us.
お、佐野に源さん、こんなところで何してるんだ？掃除か？どうせなら気を利かせて焼き芋でも焼いといてくれりゃいいのによ。
お前の頭には酒と食い物のことしかねえのか？
長倉君、島田君、町の様子はどうだったんだね。
見回り組や伏見奉行所の面々がかなり殺気立っている様子でした。
High alert.
なあ、あれ、近いうちに坂本のところに押しかけるつもりだろうな。
I gulped in response to Nagakura's comment.
皆さん方、広間へ来ていただけますか。土方副長がお呼びです。
Oh no. We all gathered in the common room and Hijikata-san abruptly spoke up.
こうやってここに集められた理由は察しがついていると思うが、坂本のやつが狙われている。しかも今回は見回り組も伏見奉行所も本気で奴を捕獲するつもりらしい。
連中は以前坂本に赤っ恥かかされてるからな。
あの野郎がどうなろうと知ったこっちゃねえと言いてえところだが、奴はこっちの羅刹の存在を知ってやがる上、行動さんの件に関しちゃ共闘してる身でもある。ってことで雪村、寺田屋の時みてえに狙われてるってことを坂本に伝えに行ってくれるか。
はい。
新八、原田、山崎、お前らも同行しろ。
ああ、引き受けたぜ。坂本の居場所は？
土佐藩邸の向かいにある旗号、大宮の2階です。
相変わらず段取りがいいな。そんじゃちょっくら行ってくることにするか。
As we left the compounds from Omiya, all of us exhaled breaths that turned white as smoke. While we passed a back alley, we saw a group of Ronin huddling together. I sensed something felt a little off, so I turned around and looked back. It was a familiar tang in my nostrils that I'd surely smelled before.
気づいたか、連中の着物。血の匂いがしたぜ。
ああ、どこぞで切り合いでもしてきたのかもしれねえな。
今の男の一人に見覚えがあります。確か見回り組のものだったかと。
Then that must mean... My bad feeling had been shared with everyone, and we looked at each other. Could it be Sakamoto-san?
急ぐぞ。走れるな。
The urgency of our hunch made us run through the chilly night as the stars twinkled above. There were no lights on in Omiya, and it was eerily quiet.
おい、誰かいねえか?
Nagakura called into the shop, but no voice answered his questions. As we all looked at each other, unsure how to proceed before taking turns stepping inside. As soon as we opened the door, our noses were filled with the same dank, musty stench as we smelled in the alley. There was no doubt about it. It was the smell of blood. A lot of blood.
山崎、さっきの奴らを追いかけて事情を聞いてこい。手は出すなよ。
承知しました。
Yamazaki answered curtly and ran outside.
坂本がいるのは確か2階だったな。
Harada peered up the stairs, which were dimly lit, and he spoke to me sharply.
お前はついてくるな。俺たちがいいって言うまでここで待ってろ。
Well, we're going with them. I'll go too. Please, let me go with you guys. Whoops. Harada watched me reproachfully. I continued on. If those men were assassins, I don't think they'd still be here. I won't do anything reckless. I promise that I'll follow orders, so please.
そこまで言うんなら仕方ねえな。分かった。そんじゃついてこい。ただし、絶対に俺たちの前に出るんじゃねえぞ。
I carefully walked up the stairs, right behind Nagakura. As we creaked up each step, the stench of blood became stronger and stronger. What could have happened up there? I wanted to see it all with my own eyes, but my gut told me something that made my heart race. The conflict to know for myself pushed me forward, and we made it to the top of the stairs. My whole body froze when I finally seen what was laid before us. Both the sliding door and the hardwood floors were tainted with the stains of fresh blood. In the middle of the room were two men covered in brutal stab wounds all over their bodies. They were... Sakamoto-san! I ran up to him and took his pulse. It seemed like he had a pulse, a faint one though. It was a brief sense of relief, but... just by looking at him, it was clear his wounds, from both quantity and severity, were fatal. I don't think he had much time left. Why? Why would this happen to Sakamoto-san? No, I can't give up just yet. First I need to tend to his wounds and stitch whatever I can together. I hope I could find some sake nearby. Soju would be preferred, perhaps in the kitchen. I got up to sprint downstairs. I heard Sakamoto-san's voice and I stopped in my tracks. Sakamoto-san, do you recognize me? I asked him tenderly and he curled his lips like he does, and he managed to laugh, bloody face and all.
わかるに決まっちゅうろうが。女の顔は忘れんき。
Sakamoto-san slowly inched a trembling hand, covered in blood, towards my cheeks. His hand moved so gingerly next to me, as if he was afraid of touching me with his blood. As a result of losing so much blood, his fingertips were cold to the touch. Even the charm in his gaze couldn't save him as he watched me helplessly upon the floor.
くそ。最後の最後だ。ついてなかったにゃ。慶喜さんが政権を返上してくれた。ようやく日本が新しゅう生まれ変わるちゅう時に。
His eyes were becoming glossy, and he struggled to breathe as he spoke. I couldn't watch anymore. Sakamoto-san, please, don't strain yourself by talking. Just as I screamed out, the color in his hair gradually faded. Oh, what? His eyes were transforming into a crimson red. I began to sob uncontrollably next to him. Why? Through the coldness and proximity next to him, I could see it, but I couldn't accept it. No, I couldn't believe. No, I didn't want to.
どういた
It seemed as though Sakamoto-san didn't know what was happening to him, and he gazed back at me with a yearning expression. Just then,
こいつ息を吹き返したみてえだぞ。おい、しっかりしろ。
Nagakura was watching Nakaoka on the floor beside Sakamoto-san, and he screamed. The next moment, we saw Nakaoka rise from the ground, although he seemed very weak. Nagakura's body was flung against the wall. Oh shit! Nagakura!
大丈夫か、新八。
ああ、なんともねえが。それより、あいつは。
Even Nakaoka? Oh, what is this root? I followed Nagakura's gaze, and there stood Nakaoka. His hair had turned white and his eyes flamed red. He had turned into a fury. Nakaoka? Why? I asked, my voice shaking with it, and he glared at me like a beast upon its prey.
それはこちらのセリフだ。貴様らはよほどこの日本を滅ぼしたいと見える。
His eyes burned with hatred, gazing upon each one of us with anger.
よく覚えているぞ。俺も坂本も貴様らに切り殺された。
What?
迷う必要など最初からなかったんだ。この後に及んで己の体面や損得感情しか考えぬ幕府の総区どもと手を取り合うことなどできるか。
Nakaoka immediately reached for the blood-covered sword resting on his hip, and he pointed it towards us.
こいつ、羅刹になりやがった。油断するなよ、佐野。分
かってるって。
Nakaoka shifted his feet, and he charged towards Nagakura. Luckily, he managed to see the blade coming. However, the attacks didn't stop there. As the swords continued to clash in the room, Nagakura seemed to be tiring a bit. Harada had tried to back him up, but then...
バカがこの狭い場所でそんな獲物が役に立つと思うか。
Nakaoka grabbed a hold of Harada's spear and yanked it back. Then he charged towards Harada with the open space. Harada! Watch out! I instinctively withdrew my kodachi and I attempted to charge at him to distract him.
邪魔をするな!
Immediately, he shoved me and my body was flung towards the sliding door.
まさかこいつらが羅刹を実戦に使ってきやがるとはな。
Nagakura swung angrily at Nakaoka over and over again, but even with the three of us, Nakaoka handled our attacks with ease. All of us were tiring so quickly, and yet there appeared to be no end to his boundless strength.
音に聞こえる新選組幹部の剣技とやらも所詮この程度か。
Nagakura! Harada! I tried moving closer to them for safety.
動く
Nakaoka pointed his sword towards me.
最初からお前は怪しいと思っていた。皇庫の憂いを断つためにも今のうちに殺しておいた方が良さそうだな。
Mate! This is all a misunderstanding. If we continue to fight, then this will only make things worse for the shogunate and the Tosa.
羅刹となって生まれ変わった。俺には土佐などもう関係ない。
His words made me shiver from fear.
その子に手は出さないでくださいな、中岡さん。
Oh, this bitch is here. Someone I'd least expected to see in this room waltzed inside, kimono flowing behind her. It was Kaoru. What was she doing here?
どけ！邪魔立てすると貴様も殺すぞ！
Nakaoka screamed out, but Kaoru looked unfazed. She gave him a cool gaze and continued.
この子には手出し無用です。行動さんからの命令ですよ。お二方にはまだなすべきことが残ってらっしゃるのではないですか。私がせっかく拾ってあげた命なのですから無駄にしてはいけませんよ。
I saved your life? Then that must mean Kaoru was the one who turned the two of them into... Just then, Sakamoto-san raised his head and he tried slowly getting up from the floor.
なんぜ俺は切られたがやなかったがか。
ああ、切られたさ。そして俺たちの首を取るためにこうして新選組の奴らがやってきた。
That's not true! This is all a misunderstanding! We... As I attempted to explain what had happened, a commotion was heard from the outside.
中岡様、坂本様、人が来ます。まずはここから出ることにしましょう。
Wait, Sakamoto-san! I tried running after him to speak first.
どけ！
Nakaoka kicked me square in my stomach and my body slammed against the wall. I had the wind knocked out of me, but I pushed through the pain to try crawling after them, but...
それでは皆さん方、失礼いたします。次にお会いするときは戦場で、ということになりそうですね。
Then Nakaoka knocked the door open with another kick, and they disappeared from the scene. Now, all that was remaining was the tattered room, filled only with blood and silence. What could I do now? I would have never, in my wildest imagination, pictured Sakamoto or Nakaoka becoming furies. Eventually, Harada gathered himself and stood up, offering me a hand.
平気か？怪我はねえか？
I'm fine, but...
二人ともすぐにここを出るぞ。この状況を誰かに見られちまったら俺たちが坂本暗殺の犯人にされちまう。
Nakaoka and Harada helped me back up and we rushed downstairs. Once we returned to the compounds, I felt as if I was stuck in a nightmare when the memories returned to me. Hijikata-san had gathered everyone in the common room once we had gotten back.
なるほど、よくわかった。一歩遅かったってとこか。
坂本暗殺の犯人は 見回り組かと思われます。ですが
Ryoma Sakamoto survived an assassination attempt on his life by drinking the water of life. Shintaro Nakaoka, he survived an assassination attempt on his life by drinking the water of life. He is now a fury.
俺たちがそう触れ回ったところで信じる奴はいねえだろうな。
死にかけてた坂本と中岡ってやつが飲んだ落ち水は光道さんから渡ったものらしいってことか。
ああ、おそらくはな。
For a moment, everyone was silent. Then Harada chimed in.
大宮にいたあの女、見た顔だ。薫って言ったか。三条生殺事件の時に邪魔してくれた女だ。あいつ、あの時も土佐に味方してやがったぜ。
ってことは光道さんをかくまってた西国の藩ってな、土佐藩かもしれねえってとこだ
な。何にせよ敵側の落ち水が実用に耐えるものになっているとは厄介ですね。
そりゃまあ光道さんが向こう側についてるんだからな。落ち水の実験も進むだろうよ。
All of the Shinsengumi captains grew agitated, and no one spoke so that they could consider the implications silently. Eventually,
よし、今日のところはこれで解散だ。ご苦労だったな。
with Hijikata-san's blessing, everyone bowed and left the common room. But I couldn't shake this bad feeling, and it really worried me, so I approached Hijikata-san. Oh no.
なんだ、まだ何かあるのか。
I wasn't quite sure if Hijikata-san was the best person to ask this, but what's going to happen to Sakamoto-san? Hijikata-san thought about it for a second, muttering to himself as if he couldn't put it into words.
こんだけ坂本暗殺の知らせが広まっちまったら、土佐藩も実は生きてるなんて言いにくいだろう。おそらく表向きは死んだってことにするだろうな。羅刹の存在は向こうも明かしたくねえだろうし。
I see. So that means he won't be able to work actively in the political sphere anymore. Sakamoto-san hoped to create a new world without the shogunate or the samurai. Then Hijikata-san began to heed his warning.
坂本が羅刹になっちまった以上、あいつと俺たちの共闘関係はなくなった。今後はあいつを敵だと思え。絶対に気を許すんじゃねえぞ。いいな。
I had a feeling he would say something along those lines to me. I just couldn't bring myself to agree with what he was telling me.
雪村。
Hijikata-san pressed me for a response. わかった。Somehow, I was able to bring myself to say it out loud. Then I bowed quickly and exited the room. After I returned to my room, I tried preparing my futon, but the sights and smells of that room stuck to my senses, and I couldn't sleep. If he was still alive, maybe I could see Sakamoto-san again, but I wondered what my father had in store for him in Nakaoka. And what about Kaoru? No matter how much I searched internally for a clue, no answers would come, so I was left to contend with what could be the worst case. After that night, rumors spread about us fleeing to Omiya, and I'm not sure who could have seen us leave. Throughout the city of Kyoto, people began to speculate that it was the Shinsengumi who assassinated Sakamoto. Then, after all of this, something even the Shinsengumi couldn't expect had confronted us. Something that would change us forever. Before November ended, the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, which was Ito's faction, had been undergoing serious internal strife. Saito-san had joined the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb as a Shinsengumi spy, and based on the intelligence reports, the Shinsengumi had assassinated Ito. The attack on the Guardians eventually became known as the Abura no Koji incident. During this incident, the demons and the Satsuma intervened, and Heisuke had suffered a critical injury during the resulting altercation. In order for Heisuke to survive, he was forced to drink the serum. At the same time, Chikage Kazuma had planned and executed a coordinated attack on the compounds. The serum, brought into the Shinsengumi by my father, was now slowly eating all of them away. My heart began sinking from the weight of all this. December 1867. December 1867. This we can pass. This is the whole thing. I know what the scene is. Man, I thought we'd go without one of the Salon scenes. But no, we're here with the creepy scene that I just hate so much. With some sort of passion. We're being saved by Hijikata Shosanan. Please go on. Let's continue. Yeah. Alright.
じゃあ、あいつもし山なんおい
I'll stay here. Right? Yep, I'll stay here.
なんだ
We're staying in my room. Oh wait, that means the following scene is gonna happen, isn't it? Yep. The scene with Harada and Nagakura. Yeah. We've seen this several times already. And Nagakura's gonna get mad and leave and burn out my candles or turn off my candles. You know what I mean. Anyway, I'm gonna continue on. We're gonna get the scene with Harada. Anyway, continuing on as we stare at Harada. Now we can continue. And we get patted by Harada once again. Continuing on. And this recap. Everything's falling to pieces. And now oh, that is a picture. I'm gonna get an achievement right now, aren't I? Achievement unlocked. Is that a gun in your pocket? Or... That's it, there's nothing else. It had been roughly a month since Sakamoto-san, Hakuoki, and Kaoru had all disappeared. I was barely given any time to mourn for Heisuke becoming a fury after the Abura no Koji incident. In order to stave off the Satsuma from assuming power through manipulation of the imperial court, the shogun began occupying Kyoto. In response, the Sacho also sent forces to occupy Kyoto, creating a tense mood in the city. As a contingency plan, the Shinsengumi had been stationed at the Fushimi Magistrate. However, only 2 days after we'd moved, an attempt on Kondo-san's life was made, sending him in critical condition. Kondo-san, along with Okita, whose tuberculosis had only been worsening, was sent to Osaka Castle for further treatment.
Oi! 飯はまだか？もう腹が減って、薩長と戦う前に飢え死にしそうなんだけどよ。
Nagakura! I swear. Please give me just a few more minutes. It's almost done.
新八、あんまりせかすんじゃねえよ。こいつが忙しくしてるのは見りゃわかるだろうが。
Thank you, Harada.
何か手伝うことはねえか？
I'm fine. I'll be able to handle it. Please give me a moment. As the meal ended, and after I completed all of my chores, I finally had a moment to breathe. Ever since word of the Imperial Restoration had spread, the fate of our government seemed tenuous. I wonder if it'd actually come to a war.
後先考えずに刀を抜く側はバカだけ。みんながみんな賢かったら、無駄に争う理由らってなくなる気に。
And I think he was the one wishing most for peace during this chaotic time. Just as these thoughts turned internally.
雪村先輩、ちょっといいですか？
What's up, Soma?
実はこれなんですけど。
Soma took out a letter addressed to me.
見回りから戻ってくる途中、桜の柄の着物を着た女の人に渡されて。
Oh no! Sakura print. I had a hunch who it could have been, and the letter confirmed it. Its only note saying Kaoru. I ripped it apart, rushing to read its contents.
坂本さんの件についてお伝えしたいことがあります。お付き合いください。新選組の方々にはくれぐれもご内密にお願いします。南雲薫。
The letter even had a point of contact listed on it. Concerning Sakamoto-san. Why had Kaoru reach out to me? I gripped the letter tightly, looking to see if anyone watched me read it, and I quickly exited the magistrate.
お待ちしてました、雪村さん。来てくださると思ってましたよ。
You said you have something to tell me about Sakamoto-san. What is it? I kept myself alert, and Kaoru started giggling, but to herself bewitchingly.
あら、気の早い方ですね。ご心配なさらずとも、一緒に来てくださればきちんとお伝えしますよ。
This is a goddamn trap!
さあ、行きましょう。きっと喜んでいただけると思います。
No. How far is this place?
すぐそこです。
Oh. Kaoru had brought me to the Inari Temple, located in Fushimi. As I passed under the famous Tori corridor, it felt as though I had entered a gateway to a foreign, majestic world. However, it wasn't the only surprise waiting.
久しぶりだね。
Father?
元気にしていたかい？随分と娘らしく綺麗になったな。
Father, who had eluded me for almost 4 years, had currently been standing right in front of me. If I were a clueless child, perhaps I would have ran up to him for a prolonged embrace, but knowing of his involvement with the Shinsengumi made me more so eager to ask him questions. Father, there's something I need to ask you.
なんだね。
Is it true that you performed research on the creation of the Furies with the Shinsengumi? That's not all I've learned either. I also heard that you've expanded this experiment in the West, as they seek to overthrow the shogunate. Why would you do that? Didn't you become a doctor so that you could save lives, Father? Finally, I was able to load numerous questions that had given me sleepless nights for months, and my father simply furrowed his brow.
久方ぶりの再会だというのに質問ばかりだね。まあいい。お前には知らせておかねばならないことだから教えてあげよう。もしかするともう誰かから聞かされているかもしれんが、お前は普通の人間ではないのだよ。傷を負ってもすぐに治り、人間をはるかに凌駕する力を持つ鬼の一族の血を引いているのだ。
A demon clan. Both Kazuma and Sen had mentioned this to me.
その中でも我が雪村家はかつて東の鬼をすべていた名家だったのだ。人間どもにあえなく滅ぼされたがね。
Sen had brought mention of this fact to me as well. Father, please answer me. Why did you perform experiments on the Furies?
決まっているじゃないか。雪村家の最高のためだよ。
Revive?
そう。人間どもがろくな技術も持たぬ時代であれば、奴らの手を借りずとも一族の再興を成し得ただろうが、この混迷の時代、我らが再び安住の地を得るためには、どこかの藩の庇護を受けるより他ない。そして落ち水や羅刹の力は必ずや我らの一族の再興に役立ってくれるはずだ。行こう。今度こそ誰に脅かされることなく幸せに暮らせるのだよ。
Father wore a warm smile as he offered his hand out to me, stretched to grab my own hand, but I don't care about reviving our clan, or to reclaim some land that was supposedly taken from us. The people who've turned into furies, Sanan-san, Heisuke, Sakamoto-san, Nakoka, I want you to return them back to humans. Father's eyes thinned and he laughed.
それはお前の目で直接確かめるといい。
What? His response, could it mean?
坂本君とは随分と仲が良かったらしいね。この私がお前の思い人をひどい目に遭わせるはずがないじゃないか。元に戻す方法がないのに、あの薬を飲ませたりするはずがないだろう。それにね、彼は羅刹となったが、我々のことを恨んだりはしていないよ。彼はこう言っていたんだ。この薬があったからこそ生き延びられた。これでまた多くのことを成し遂げられるとね。無論受け入れるまでには葛藤があったようだが、今ではあの薬の行動を認めてくれている。
Is that all true? I remember Sakamoto-san being upset that he had died before he made the impact he'd wished for upon Japan.
ああ、彼は君に会いたがっているよ。一緒においで。さあ。
Could I trust what father had told me? Hell no!
どうしたんだね。
Father kept urging me. I'm not going anywhere.
何?
Sakamoto-san told me the only people who will benefit from using the power of the Furies were the Westerners. He said it was no different than how Britain had ruled China using the opium trade. So, I don't believe you for a second that Sakamoto-san would ever accept the effects of the serum. Father's eyes suddenly lost all warmth and kindness, as if he had ceased his charade.
聞き分けのない子だね。ならば、無理にでも連れて行くしかないか。
No! As father reached his hand towards me to grab my arm, I instinctively slapped it away. Just then.
おいおい、行きたくねえっつってんのが聞こえねえのか。
Oh my god!
いつまでも子離れできねえ親父なんて、みっともねえことこの上ねえぜ。
That voice, it's... Hijikata-san! Sonan-san! My goodness, all of you are here!
行動さん、先ほどの言葉、もう一度聞かせてもらいましょうか。羅刹となったものを元の人間に戻すことはできるのですか。
おお、まだ日も沈んでいないというのによく動けるものだ。新選組がそこまで落ち水の改良を進めていたとも思えぬし、気力だけでそうして立っているのかな。
こっちの質問に答えやがれ。俺たちを元に戻す方法はあるのか、それともねえのかよ。
戻せるはずがなかろう。分かりきったことを。一度落ち水で汚れた血は二度と元には戻らん。君たちは所詮出来損ないなのだよ。
てめえ。
Flames burned inside of Hijikata-san's eyes, while Sana-san, on the other hand, kept his composure and spoke with a tone so cold-hearted, I felt nervous.
なるほど。その言葉を聞いて、ようやく踏ん切りがつきました。
羅刹を元の人間に戻す方法がねえっつんなら、あんたを生かしておく理由もねえよな。殺す前に一応聞いておくか。坂本や中岡を羅刹にしたそうだな。目的は何だ。
From the side, Kaoru answered in father's stead.
今死んでもらっては困る方々ですから。
誰に頼まれた。
さあ、あまりしつこい殿方は嫌われますよ。さあ、行きましょう、雪村さん。もうこんな人たちと関わる必要などないのですから。
As Kaoru's slender fingers wrapped around my arm, I found it hard to believe how much power they had.
その手を離しやがれ。
Heisuke leapt forward to jab at Kaoru, but his sword just barely grazed her sleeves. I took this opportunity to gain distance from Kaoru. Then, from the other direction,
やれやれ、無粋な方々だ。今日のところは日を改めた方が良さそうだな。
本当に小賢しいこと。ぞろぞろと群れることしか能がない野良犬みたい。
俺たちがあんたらを見逃すとでも思ってるのか。悪いがアリ一匹逃がしゃしねえぜ。
Nagakura puffed out his chest and drew his sword. Father had quickly sipped something from out of his sleeve. It was a tiny glass bottle, and inside of it was a peculiar, suspiciously discolored liquid. Everyone, watch out! Get back! As I screamed, Father had already thrown the bottle towards the Shinsengumi warriors.
なんだこれ。
てめえら、粉を吸うんじゃねえ。 こいつは目つぶしか何かだ。
Hijikata tried to warn everyone, but it was too late.
それでは皆さん方ごきげんよう。
次こそ迎えに行くからね。楽しみに待っているんだよ。
待って! I reached out as my fingertips just barely grazed their kimonos, but Father and Kaoru vanished like smoke.
てめえら、すぐに奴らを追え。絶対に逃がすんじゃねえぞ。
The men scoured every corner of the temple, as well as outside of it, but no sign of neither my father nor Kaoru has shown itself. Later that night, Hijikata-san called for me to meet him in the common room.
残念ながら、コードーさんともう一人のカオルってやつの行方はつかめねえままだった。できれば薩長との戦が始まる前に片付けておきたかったんだがな。
Hijikata-san forcefully bit his lip, seemingly out of frustration, and all I could do was apologize. I'm so sorry, Hijikata-san.
それは何に対する詫びだ。
Because as I tried to speak, my throat quivered. I didn't want to believe it was real, but because my father imposed the water of life onto the Shinsengumi, lying about being able to change the Furies back to their human forms, I knew it wasn't just simple research on the Furies that motivated my father to act as he did. There must be a deeper reason to it all. At least, that was the hope I had been holding on to in my heart. It seemed like my father had no reservations in turning people into Furies. Nor had he expressed the slightest hint of guilt for sacrificing real human lives for his purposes. This man was my father.
お前が罪の意識なんざ感じる必要はねえよ。落ち水の研究をするって決めたのも、その薬を大使に飲ませたのも、俺たちが勝手にしたことだ。
Hijikata-san tried to accept some of the criticism as his own to comfort my guilty feelings, but there was no way for me to easily absolve either my father or myself of the sins that were committed. Hijikata-san placed his index and middle fingers on the right side of the bridge of his nose as he spoke.
俺たちはこれからお前の父親を、コードーさんを殺すことになる。これ以上ここにいるのが辛いって言うんなら、いつでも出られるように便宜を図ってやっても構わねえ。
Thank you. That's very kind of you, but please, allow me to stay here for just a little longer.
そうか。わかった。
Father was the one responsible for causing the Shinsengumi, for cursing the Shinsengumi with the water of life. There was no way that as his daughter, I could be allowed to take safe refuge somewhere far away and forget about all that's happened here. Besides, Father spoke about his ambitions to revive our family's clan. This is all my fault. I have to do whatever it takes to stop my father, even if that meant at the expense of my own life. Sakamoto-san, where are you right now? I think that's a good place to stop. Yep. That's a good place to stop for today. Tomorrow we'll continue it, finish chapter 5, and then continue on to Edo Blossoms, where we get to see where the hell this story continues from there in Edo. Tonight, no art stream. However, we will be doing some Splatoon 3. We're going to be doing the big run because it's big run time, so we're gonna do that and have some fun. But yeah, I don't have a time for that, so just come back later. So like maybe 7 EST, 8 EST, somewhere around that line. Or maybe still 9 p.m. EST, but we're doing that. So I hope you have a nice day. Please drink some water so that you don't die of dehydration. Stay out of the heat if it's hot. Stay out of the cold if it's cold. And see you next time. Bye-bye.